Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 22.
Hi, and welcome to Mighty Married Moms. We are here today. We've just had the great privilege of talking with Dr. Bill Crawford.
Yes, very inspiring.
Yes.
Just said.
Wow.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for finding me and inviting him, Linda.
Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah.
I'll take the credit.
Yeah, you should.
I'm really excited. We've been looking forward to it since we booked it, and it was. We learned a ton in.
It was such a short amount of time.
Moments, right? Yeah.
What I really liked was his concept of the top of the mind, that 80% of our brains are where we do our thinking and processing and creating and problem solving, but we live in kind of like the 20% of our brains. That's where we kind of, the drivers of life in this fear and anxiety and resistance and kind of like really, some people call it the reptilian brain.
Right.
There are lots of ways, and we live there most of the time. And he says he has really, through his studies of psychology, has figured out a way to try to help us live more in the top of the mind. Mm-hmm. And that was just really, it just took it out of woo-woo world and put it in a model that I can really understand and grasp. Mm-hmm. I really so appreciated it. What he said, and he had these amazing 4 questions to really kind of move you from that bottom living in the muck of life to that problem-solving creative piece. Do you want to go over the 4 questions?
I think we should go over the 4 questions.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, and before we do that, though, I just want to reiterate what I said, and that was one of the things that has become really, really clear to me is that so many people live life by accident. It's that reactive state that we're constantly in. I'm going to react to my kid talking to me in the wrong way. I'm going to react to the person in the grocery store talking to me in the wrong way. I'm going to react to this bill that I got that I wasn't expecting. I'm going to react to this constant state of living by accident instead of living every day with purpose. Yeah. And, we can expand on that a lot, but I think one of the things that I try to do is, every day I wake up and I say my prayers of gratitude, and I know that there are several things that I want to try to accomplish every day, and I have them written down, because if they're not written down, they're in this nebulous, ether world that doesn't come down to reality. And also, not just the goals that I want to accomplish, but the goals that I want to have for my relationships with my husband, with
I want
my
to be
children.
loving and kind today.
Yes.
I don't want to be short-tempered and
How do I
control.
want to be? So it's living on purpose.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Living on purpose instead of by accident. And I think that's the real thing that I got from what he said, although those are my words. But, so let's talk about the 4 questions, because it helps us get to that purposeful living.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So to get yourself in the right mindset, question number 1, is this thought or emotion, has it been chosen on purpose?
Right. Or this reaction.
Or this reaction.
What? I just got an extra bill from the dentist? What? Am I choosing that on purpose, or or if I had a choice, would I be up in arms, or would I say, take a deep breath, call the dentist, figure it out. Is this really owed? Am I really owing this? Whatever it might be. But has this reaction been chosen on purpose? Typically not. It's usually comes from...
Right, and putting it into the place where I'm choosing to react how I'm reacting.
Right.
So am I purposely choosing to react this way?
Take responsibility.
Or could I choose to react a different way?
Another word for that is respond, as opposed to react.
Exactly.
React comes from the little 20% amygdala portion, and respond is up in this 80% creative space, problem-solving space.
Right. Choose how you want to respond.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I've actually written about that. It's the difference between reacting and responding is huge.
It's huge. Totally. Yep.
And then the second question is: so okay, let's say you're
Dr.
having this,
Phil.
you're having this this thought or emotion, and how's that going for you?
How's that working for you? Yeah. You like being? What about this dental bill? Do you like living there? Not really. Not really. No. Don't want to be carrying that crap around me for the next 5 seconds or an hour or 2 or a week.
Right.
No, don't want to.
Right.
Right. And I think we can probably all agree that that kind of level of frustration, you allow yourself to kind of escalate into frustration, it never works. I mean, think of any time. Can you ever think of a time where that actually worked and got the result that you're actually looking for?
Nope. Good point. Very good point. It is ineffective.
Yes.
It is ineffective. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then the third question is this
this.
making, what kind of statement is this making about who I am?
Yeah.
So this thought or this emotion, what does this say about who I am?
Do I want to be this?
Do I want to be this person?
Irritated, crabby, conundrumy person.
Yeah.
Do I want to, or curmudgeonly rather, I mean. Yeah, do I want to be that? Or do I want to be like, you know what? Take a deep breath, think about this. You know that 3-day rule, don't act on anything impulsively, wait 3 days before you write that email, or wait 3 days before you make a suggestion. So it's the same thing. Do I want to live in this, do I want to be this overreactive, crabby person? Or do I say, wait a minute, let me think about this a little bit.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fourth one?
The fourth one?
Oh,
Would I teach this way of being to my child or someone I love?
Right.
And I think that really, for most of us, we can relate to that. If we say, well, if I had some bill that I had to pay and I wasn't supposed to, I might get really frustrated, and that's just the way it is. You might go pass by question 1 and say, all right, and how's it working for you? Well, I don't know. It's not working because they charge me too much, or
their fault.
Their fault. You could still go through there and just make a statement of who I am. No, it's a statement about who they are, and that's why I feel this way, right? But then, would you teach
this way of
being, right? And I think if your kids get mad at somebody for something, that's you have a very different approach. So I think
as you said, that bottom lines it. This fourth question bottom lines it. Like, would you want your child to open up a piece of mail and hit the roof over whatever they just saw?
Right.
Would you want your child to be that easily disrupted or have a bad day or be in a negative space? No, we would want people to be able to have a reasonable day, and that way it would allow them to be the best them that they can be. That's what we need to be doing for ourselves, and obviously modeling that. Oh my gosh, that was that was killer.
It was. It really did. It brought it all home, and I think it's just very practical, or as Wendy said, it takes the woo-woo and brings it down to like practical application that we all can relate to.
Right.
Not that we can't relate to the woo-woo stuff too, the tapping and all of that, but I think for a lot of people those are a little bit newer and a little bit unknown, and so maybe there's some barriers there that might make it a little bit more difficult to grasp onto, embrace. But these, we can all embrace it, and we can all take it, and to take yourself through that process is very powerful. To ask that question, it's really, whether it's in your parenting, whether it's in your eating and your diet, your relationships with your spouse, all across the board, we can all use it.
What was the name of this book? Top of the Mind?
Top of the Mind, something, Living from the Top of the Mind.
Living from the Top of the Mind?
Something like that.
So
It's
just
this
website.
system,
Yeah, so it just makes such good sense that when we're living in this low nerve center, the overly protective part of ourselves, we're really, and that's just 20%, we're discounting the 80%, the top of the mind, that is a much more creative, wonderful place to be. So that's what I was saying when I'm saying it takes it out of woo-woo. It's the same exact concept, which is to be more conscious, to be more awake, to have more choice in life. But this, the way he helped understand the 3 parts of the brain, from the lower to that little part, that middle processing part. What was the middle part, Debbie? Limbic system? No.
Yeah, the limbic system is the middle part of the brain.
That translates it and says, should we pay attention? Is there really a saber-toothed tiger about to come and pounce on us? Or is it just a dental bill? It's not a saber-toothed tiger that's about to take me out. It's just a dental bill. So, and so to live in the top of the mind, it was just the whole framework of how he described and how accessible it is to me as a woman living in the 21st century. It's so accessible.
Absolutely.
You know what I love, though, actually was kind of his 5th question, which was, what if I deal with this? He didn't call it his 5th question, but I wrote it down, and I think it's kind of the key that pulls the other 4 together, and that is, how do I deal with this issue, this emotion, this thought, whatever the problem is? How do I deal with that purposely what would it look like? And so what that does is it engages the creative part of your brain to begin to problem solve. And if that's something that we can do ourselves, and that's something that we can start to do with our kids, and we can do it in our relationships, or even in our health, what would it look like if I ate better? What would it look like if I weren't flying off the handle at my spouse or my children? What would it look like? Oh, well, it would look like, and then you list all these things. And actually, I would recommend writing them down and creating a vision for yourself, because when you write these things down, then you are automatic, and you attach an emotion to them. This is what I want. This is what it's going to feel like. This is how cool it's going to be when I'm doing these things that are the way I want.
Right. The kind of life that I want to live.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is our byline.
And the kind of person I want to be.
Yes.
And that was the thing
the
he
kind
talked
of mom
about.
I want to be.
Is
The kind
you
of
gotta,
wife. The kind of parent.
Right. You got to focus on things that you have control of. You don't necessarily have control of what other people are going to do or how they're going to respond, but you have control over your own. So you can say, what kind of person do I want to be? And if you list the qualities that you believe that you do have, or that you would like to have, I guess, I want to be confident, I want to be kind, I want to be forgiving, I want to be loving, I want to be fun, I want to be, whatever it is, think of those qualities. And so when you're asking yourself, has this reaction been chosen on purpose? Does that make me a kind and loving and giving person right now, or am I being something that I don't want to be? What's my higher purpose? And sort of it kind of brings all that into, by asking those questions, thinking of it that way. What do I want to teach my kids? What's my goal for my kids? I want them, what do you say? I want them to be happy. I want them to be confident. I want them to be kind. I want them to, and that's really our main purpose, right? And that's, in the end, they say all the things in life don't matter. It's what did you do to change your world, or how did you affect your world? And you can't do it if you're not being kind and conscientious and all those things. So that I thought was really a good reminder that he gave us this morning, and a big part of his work is working on this part of your brain, and who am I, and what kind of person do I want to be.
Right. And Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs, and the last 2 are growth and contribution. And Ted McGrath just puts those together, and he calls them life's purpose. And so I think that's really, you can bring all these things together, and you can say, yeah, what is life's purpose? It's to grow personally and to contribute to others. And as Bill just reminded us, those are things that we have under our own control. All those other things, we don't necessarily have control over them all the time. And so if you can focus on the things that you do have control over, it's the it's the old baseball players cliche. Oh, I'm not going to worry about that because it's out of my control. The manager gets to decide what the lineup is, and I just go out there and I do my job every day. I mean, it is cliche, but honestly, it's true.
Yeah. Exactly.
You just take the lineup that's given to you and you do what you can with it.
And you do what you can with it. And it's not like we can't always live going, wait a minute, what is my higher purpose? I just opened a dental bill. What's my higher... it's not like we're asking...
I do.
Yeah, right. But it is trying to say to yourself, like, wait a minute, just take a deep breath. It's all going to work out. There's got to be some way for us to modulate our hypersensitivity in some way. And this just seems like a really
I'm
great
writing
way.
these questions down.
Yeah,
right. So you can read them.
Put them on my mirror in my bathroom.
Dashboard,
yeah,
right?
The dashboard. Yep.
Right,
Yep.
right. And it takes the victim mentality out of life.
I'm adding that fifth question though. What would I want it to look like?
Yeah, what would I want it to look like?
I
Yeah,
think
the
that's
vision.
important.
Yeah,
What's
no,
the vision?
that is helpful. That is helpful. But it takes that victim mentality out of life. Like, do people sit around that dental office trying to find a way to make me upset? Probably not. But you feel like, oh, I just got ahead of my bills, and now this one comes in. You just feel so victimized by life, and you say, wait a minute. If you can just kind of go through these 4 questions, how's this working for me? Getting crazy. Is this making the statement of the kind of person I want to become? And would I want my kids to react like this, or to have the inner thoughts that I'm having? No. And what would my ideal future, my ideal self, my ideal response be in this situation? Now, like you said, it's not going to happen every time we have a reaction. But if we get
the more you practice it,
the more you practice it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You bring your best self to the situation.
Yeah.
Who is my best self?
Right.
And actually, that's another thing I've learned from Ted McGrath too, is to envision who your best self is. What's that person like? And what are the qualities that person has? And every time you get into a situation where you have to make a decision, or where you're frustrated, or you're getting upset, or whatever challenging situation you may be, imagine imagine your best self and bring that person to sit next to you.
Oh,
And say,
That's
wow,
great.
what would my best self do? And
Right.
that's where that neocortex part comes in, and that's where the creativity kicks in.
Right.
And you can do the problem solving in
Yeah.
order to figure out, okay, this isn't what I want for myself. This is the statement I want to make. This is the model I want my children to see.
Right.
Who's my best self? How do I bring that up?
So
Absolutely.
who's my best self? And that person lives in the top of the mind, where
Top of the mind.
Dr. Crawford's book is.
Exactly, and you talked about it right with your kids. If you want to teach them to be confident, caring adults, you have to respond to them in a confident, caring way, and it just your best self.
I loved what he said. We're not raising kids. We're
Raising
raising
adults.
future adults.
Future adults.
We're raising the people that we want to run our government. We're raising the people that we want to raise our grandchildren. We're raising the people that we want to live next to.
And then we'll run our economy, and then we'll
yes.
take care of the
Yes.
people.
Earth.
Take care of Earth and people. and-
Right. So
Right.
we're not trying to raise children.
We're not.
And I think the distinction is when we're raising children, we're putting them out in front of us going, don't they look good? Aren't they cute? Aren't they attractive? Don't they have nice
It's
clothes
all
on?
thanks to me.
It's all about me.
Good
When we're
parent.
raising future adults, we're saying, oh, I just really want them to be their best selves.
Yeah.
And we diminish
Yeah.
and let them be
Yeah.
the person that they were created to be. It's
I've
phenomenal.
actually talked about this in my other podcast, You Can Raise Great Kids, where it is raising great kids, but I have also mentioned we're not really raising kids, we are raising adults.
Yeah.
And if you have that thought in mind,
It's so helpful, so
Yes.
clarifying.
yeah.
Absolutely.
We only have a couple more minutes, and
Yes.
I really want to go through the thing about losing weight.
I do too.
Oh my
I was gonna say the
Okay.
same thing.
So let's talk about it.
Dr. Crawford, you are the bomb.
Yeah, he wrote a book. Let me just make sure I get the title correct. How to eat anything you want and never gain weight. Does
Awesome.
anybody out there would
That
like
sounds
to
good.
know
I've
how
had-
to eat anything
I've
you
had
want
that.
and never
Love
gain
that.
weight,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yes. So the one thing you talked about, this whole, all these questions, all has to do, it can be expand into any area of your life, including your weight. And one thing that happens when we get really stressed out is we raise cortisol. And you don't want to produce extra cortisol with your extra stress, because that holds on to more fat, and then you have to work out harder and longer to get rid of the extra cortisol that you didn't even put in your body through your food. So I think sometimes we think it's our food, but it's not our food. It's our stress. So we're allowing ourselves to live in that lower part of the brain, in that fight or flight place, rather than up here in the neocortex, in our endorphins and our serotonin, our sort of positive part of the
Pull the
brain.
right chemicals in, yeah.
Exactly. So your body, you said your body is a natural system, right? So when do you eat?
When you're hungry.
When you're hungry, right? And when you're hungry is when you feel that feeling in your stomach. It feels like it's so empty. You could just
rumbling.
It's rumbling, right? So stomach walls are so empty. They're like, come on, I need some food, right? And so that is the only time that you eat. You don't eat when you're bored. You don't eat because you don't know what else to do. You don't eat because I see
it's
food
9,
and it looks good,
or whatever.
and that looks like it might taste nice, but I'm not hungry. So it doesn't matter if it looks like it tastes nice. I'm not hungry. I don't need to eat right
It's
now.
on-demand feeding, just like a baby.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're hungry, and so you eat when you're hungry. So when do you stop eating?
When you're
When
not
you're not hungry. Not when you're full, right? You want to stop eating before you're full. Full is too late. It's not too. It's too much.
Feel
You've
it
already
much
done,
later.
yeah.
You feel it much later.
And you feel that, you said, about 20 minutes after
Yeah,
you're
I've heard
really
that
ready
before,
to
too.
stop eating. So stop eating when you're, and you're going to listen to your own body. When your body knows, and you're, and just stop eating then. And the great thing he said was, I think every meal should end with dessert.
I love that.
So it's the cool thing about stopping eating when you're no longer hungry as opposed to being full is now you have room for dessert, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the thing that we
And then
always
it
want?
kicks in another barometer for the dessert
Oh my
portion.
gosh,
yeah.
yes, the
Because
dessert.
you're no longer hungry. So going after dessert is not about the hunger barometer.
It's about the
anymore.
taste.
It's about the
Taste.
taste
And
barometer.
feeling good.
And feeling good. So tell us.
Yeah.
And not depriving yourself and
Right.
saying, I have to deprive myself. So he said, so you're
Bite
going to
one.
rate the dessert, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10's the top. So if it's a 10, keep going. If it's not a 10, don't bother.
Don't bother eating.
Right? And so if it is a 10, you go, I love this. This is so good. Taste number 1 is going to be a 10 because your body's been anxiously anticipating and like, oh my God, I'm going to eat the chocolate. I can't wait. Right? So you take that first bite and it's a 10. It's just
10.
glorious and you're just loving it, right? But then I think we all know, and he said bite 2 is than a 9 because it's not quite the emotional connection at the first bite. It's like,
can't wait for that
right?
creme brulee.
Yeah, exactly. So then the next one's a 9, and it goes down to an 8, and then a 7. So as you're eating it, the experience is less intense because you're eating more. So when it gets down to about a 6, I think he said it was.
Stop.
Okay. You gave yourself the treat.
So it could be 4 bites, and then and you've had a dinner or whatever, a meal and a dessert. And he says it's maintained his 160 pounds on his frame for many years.
6 foot frame.
Yeah. But okay, so I got to throw this out there. We've talked to other experts too, and they talk about leaving out the white sugar and all that stuff. So if you're having dessert after every meal,
right?
Well, it doesn't have to be a white flour dessert.
White flour.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, tell our favorite.
I love
Are we ready?
One of our favorite cookies.
Our favorite cookie. Me and Linda, you ready? Go for it.
Bananas, oatmeal, and chocolate chips, and that's it.
I want that recipe.
And you mash the bananas.
And they taste so naughty.
You mix in the oatmeal.
Okay,
and
can we
add
put this on the website?
Absolutely.
Okay, and you add in a
Check the
few
website,
chocolate chips,
folks.
and you bake them in the oven. And I'm telling you, they're the best cookie you've ever eaten. And there's no white sugar, and there's no white flour in them.
Awesome.
There is in the chocolate chips a little bit of white sugar.
Yeah.
In the chocolate.
Well,
But
it
very,
depends
very
on the
little.
chocolate chips that you use.
Okay.
Very,
Because the
very
banana
little.
is so sweet, you don't need sugar. You don't need milk chocolate chips. You can do dark chocolate.
That's
really.
one dessert. We have a million, but that's
Yeah.
one.
And you can put anything. You can put nuts in them. You can put blueberries instead of the chocolate chips. I mean, I've tried them many different ways.
Okay.
They're all good.
But they're baked in the oven, and you're eating a cookie.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so delicious.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They taste very naughty, and they're so naughty.
They're so
We
good.
love naughty things that are not naughty.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so our time is up.
Yep.
But again, you can find
Dr. Bill
Dr.
Crawford.
Crawford at, I just want to make sure I get the website correct, is www.bcphd.com.
Nope, that's not right.
BillCPhD.com.
BillCPhD.com.
Oh, Bill C.
Oh, was that what did I say?
PhD.com.
Anyway, sorry.
Right.
I think I'm so thinking about my chocolate dessert that I'm going to later today that I
Distracted.
And if
can't.
you put Bill Crawford into YouTube, he's got I think
A gazillion
videos, and they're
Yeah.
all very short, and they are all building on this concept of living in the top of the mind. So
Yeah.
YouTube, Dr. Bill Crawford,
Yeah.
you're going to have a gold
Yeah,
mine.
and certainly if you put Bill Crawford in, his website will come up too. And I cannot stress enough to sign up for his newsletter. It's
Yeah.
really amazing.
It's great.
It's not so too long to read. He's really smart about keeping it, something that you can read easily. He's got the video there in the newsletter, and there's a quote every time, and he talks about it. It's really he's just an amazing soul, high quality, being.
And if you haven't seen this episode, you got to go back.
You got to go
watch
back
it.
and definitely check it out because it was really amazing.
He'll be back.
Stuff.
Yes,
He'll be back.
definitely.
Yes.
I don't know. All these people who are getting up front, we're going to be repeating them because they're all so amazingly awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Gosh.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So, thanks again for being with us here today on Mighty Married Moms. Definitely check out our website on mightymarriedmoms.com. Check us out on iTunes, and please subscribe to our podcast. We'll have lots of great guests that I know you're going to want to listen to, at least a few. So enjoy, have a fabulous day, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.